Ex-friend thinks I'm going to be their landlord. I am in the UK. Anyway, I bought my first flat when I was in my 20s. I rented out a room to a guy from Poland, an awesome flatmate who was super good at DIY and maintenance. At the time I was seeing someone for a while. Let's call her Ghost. Ghost lived with two other girls, one of whom we'll call Karen. Ghost and I broke up. From the imaginative name, you can guess what happened, and that whole friend group ditched me. My career went pretty well, and I later bought a house in the suburbs. I decided to let my flatmate stay in the flat at the same rent with the proviso that he not sublet, but his girlfriend moving in was fine. It's also worth noting that his girlfriend had become friends with Ghost and her group back then. Anyway, I had my mortgage covered, a tenant who was better at maintaining the place than I was, and he got a two-bed flat for half price. So a few years on, after a certain idiotic referendum passed, my flatmate and his girlfriend decided to move back to Poland. His girlfriend had already gone back, but when I was over sorting some stuff with the flatmate, I saw a huge pile of moving boxes, etc., in the spare room. I asked the flatmate, "Oh, is that your girlfriend's stuff? Are you going to be able to fit all that in the car?" He replied, No, that's Karen's stuff. She asked if she could leave it here while we were still around." As it turns out, Karen was still friends with his girlfriend. She found out they were leaving and that their rent was a pretty good deal. She told his girlfriend that she had squared it all with me and that she was going to take it all over. I will confess I had a few minutes of panic and confusion. I hadn't spoken to this person in years. She thinks she's going to move into my flat and doesn't even ask. How the hell does she even intend to pay rent, given she has made zero attempts to contact me? And why would I not go for the market rate? I'm honestly baffled and somewhat morbidly fascinated to find out how she thinks this is going to work. I don't really want to get into some kind of ridiculous squatter rights squabble with them, so I contacted my solicitor. Think of a non-trial lawyer. She recommended I get the locks changed, install a security camera, and prepare for the inevitable fallout when Karen turns up and tries to get in. I actually think she's quite excited by the drama, a bit more interesting than property conveyancing, so I explained this to my flatmate. He agreed to move out 2 weeks early and helped me fit the doorbell camera. He really was the best. So that's where we are. I pretty much have the Ring app open constantly on my phone. I have pretty clear instructions not to say anything other than to give my solicitors information and record any and all correspondence when it happens. I'm presuming she will hear from the girlfriend, though. Posters response to comments. I discussed with my solicitor the possibility of charging Karen's storage fees or reporting abandoned property inside my flat, but she advised me to expect to lose money. The best-case scenario is that a third party collects this stuff, and it's done quietly. There are various kinds of abandoned property in law, but we don't want to accidentally wander into the situation where someone leaves stuff behind and therefore acknowledges them as a tenant. I haven't moved her stuff out of the apartment. I simply photographed it and had the flatmate write a letter to my solicitor saying it's exactly as left. I was sternly warned not to look at or interfere with it. If it ends up being moved to storage, then I need to get a registered mover to do it, but hopefully not, because then I'll end up on the hook. Fascinating laws when you're not being screwed by them. My mention of the squatters' rights issue is probably an exaggeration. The law was changed a few years back, and she won't be able to prove she resided there without bills and utilities all firmly in my name. But it's a lot easier when they're not in the property. Still, there used to be some pretty wacky laws regarding squatters' rights, but like I said, they were changed. The problem is that a lot of people still kick up a fuss and act like the old laws are still in place. The funny situation we are in is that while it is illegal to enter a residence without permission, at the time Karen did this, she had the then resident's permission. Then she abandoned her goods and left. If she tries to enter again, it would be trespassing, like revoking permissions from a vampire. I can't call or message Karen or Ghost since I deleted and blocked their numbers years ago. I didn't want to do anything stupid like having a few drinks and making any calls. I'm putting everything through my solicitor. Hopefully the immediate jump to legal action will make them back off quickly and show them they can't pull some kind of fast one on me. Also, I didn't start looking for new tenants because I wasn't really expecting it for a few more weeks, to be honest. A lot happened quite fast. I thought it would be a weird situation to explain to someone viewing it. You can move in when I can get this crazy ex-friend's stuff out of here. I presume the girlfriend knows by now about their whole scam. The flatmate was pretty appalled. The girlfriend is a very sweet and trusting person, and in fairness, the scale of the lie is pretty impressive. I think the girlfriend became friends with Karen because they would have met a number of times at parties and through Ghost. It wasn't unusual for Ghost and her friends to turn up at my flat at 3 a.m. and sleep on the couch. I was closer to town, and they frequently spent their taxi money anyway. I'm probably going to sell the place. I never really wanted to be a landlord. Update 1. Today at lunchtime, Karen turned up and tried to get into the flat, and she was not alone. Ghost was with her, and they had a key. I feel stupid for not remembering that Ghost probably had one from when we were together, or they got a copy from the girlfriend. I didn't think she'd keep it after she ditched me, but I probably should have changed the locks back then. Whoops. Sorry, tenants. My ex had a key to your flat the whole time. Anyway, the camera didn't catch the preamble, but they came up to the door and tried a key. It's not working. Some fumbling. They were having trouble with the locks. Some more colorful language was used, presumably about me and my parentage, that I can't wait to have my solicitor read back to them. They continued to take turns trying the key. I connected at this point, but didn't say anything. They tried the doorbell, but it didn't make any noise because I was connected. I think it lit up, but I guess they don't realize that means I'm watching. I thought Ring cameras had a siren to give them a fright, but I couldn't find it. They banged on the door and window a bit before walking off. I stayed listening through the camera, but didn't hear anything else. It was still eerily quiet on the phone. I sent the video to my solicitor anyway. I've had 2 calls from unknown numbers, but I'm not going to answer. I will wait for someone to text me and send them the solicitor's contact information. Update 2. After a whole bunch of phone calls from random numbers, I finally got one from Ghost's father. He was always a gentleman I got on with, so I sent him a polite message saying if this was about the flat, please direct this to my solicitor, and gave him the details. He said, okay, and she said he contacted her and is going in to meet her on Friday. So I guess I could update the title too. Entitled X wants me to be her landlord. I did some snooping on social media. I deleted my Facebook years ago. It seems that Ghost and Karen's other housemate is getting married soon. They were all living rent-free in the bride's nan's old house. So I'm guessing impending nuptials are the reason Ghost and Karen are looking for somewhere new and cheap to live. Not really my problem, though. Final update. Wow, it has taken a turn from the entitled to just plain dumb. Karen, Ghost, and Ghost's dad met with my solicitor today, where they unveiled their secret weapon. They had a copy of my lease with my flatmate. I was right in that their rent-free ride was over, and they had no money saved. Ghost had been used to me as a cash machine for years, I guess, so she thought I would just roll over. Hello, no. As the kids might say, this brainiac's plan was that they would take over the existing lease agreement with the flatmate and his girlfriend without my involvement. They had a key, they had my payment details from the tenancy agreement. The girlfriend just caused flatmate and her a wedding gift, right? Luckily, the account's sole purpose was for rent, so I can change that number easily. They thought they could just write their names on the form as well, and it would be legally binding. Never mind the fact that there is no subletting. The agreement was with someone else, and the agreement was terminated by the flatmate. My solicitor says they only tried to argue their point for a minute before giving up. Meeting at her office gave her a real home field psychological advantage, I think, and she knows every freaking law in the land. She was laughing on the phone about it. Honestly, these people are nearly 40. How they have no idea how a lease works is beyond me. Although I don't think they believed it, I think it's just because they got caught and are trying to spin it. Long story short, Ghost's dad has agreed to pay a moving company to collect the boxes and bring them to his house. I need to be there for that, but I will slam the door at the first sign of anyone other than a mover. So I'm out about £350 in solicitor's fees. I can accept that. As I said, no wedding present for the flatmate now. I mean, I'd preferred not to have this happen. But who knows what would have happened if they got in or got their day in court. There is a non-zero chance I could have been screwed by a justice based on some sob story. Even in the likely case I would have won, the only people who make money in these things are the lawyers. Punitive damages aren't really a thing here. The courts would just send everyone on their way. At least I'll always have a video of my ex failing to pull a fast one on me, and a record of her being called to my solicitor's office like she's been called to the office by the head teacher. A quick note on why I didn't just check her things out the door. Flats here tend to open to the outside, not a corridor, so it would be the same as chucking it out in the rain, and there is a legal duty of care. It's called being an involuntary bailee. It sucks, but it's a pretty common landlord problem, and Karen is a Karen. At least I've seen her complain twice in a restaurant to get her meal comped. Rules are a weapon to use against others. She would absolutely have made trouble for me. That's it. Hopefully, it will at the very least serve as a cautionary tale about changing locks if you get dumped.